And that's what I've learned more than anything in my priesthood, is just that. Like, if I try to depend on myself, it's always terrible. It never works very good. It's not as good as the way God's going to do it. I can't see all the different angles He's coming at or what's going to happen in the future. He's got it all figured out, and if I would just let God be God, it's always better. I think, I think it goes back to, again, the original sin of Adam and Eve, like that, we talk about an apple, but it's something that's pleasurable to the eye. We see it and we're like, I just want that. Like right now, it could be lots of different things. It can be a new car. It can be a person, it can be a dessert. But we see these things and we're like, I want that. I want to possess it, pleasure. And it's so hard for us as human beings because of our concupiscence, because we fail to say no to those things. And again, this season of Lent helps us to prepare. If we can say no now, well, then maybe we can say no to something even bigger next time. So it's all part of a process, and I think that's one of the important parts of Lent.
Yeah, we're so used to everything instantly. I mean, I get frustrated when I have Amazon Prime and I'm waiting for a package that's supposed to be there in 2 days. I'm paying for it to be there in 2 days, and then 6 days later it shows up, and I'm like, what is the point of this?
Yeah. And I'm mad when I'm driving around on the highways because there's too many semis, because everybody's ordering everything on Amazon Prime. So, we're always mad about everything. Nothing's perfect.
Yeah, we want that instant fix right now. But even like heaven, I mean, we were talking today with Carlos's family, and just about, you mentioned to them, this life's passing away. It's going to be over quicker than what heaven and eternity are like, and we can't understand what eternity is at all. But it's something that it's not that instant gratification, but it's something that it surpasses all of that.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things in our life, working out, diets. I mean, yeah, you could go to the gym and you're not going to build all this muscle if you work out one time. It takes a year, 2, 3, 4 years, to build muscle or to get better at whatever sport, golf. You can't go play golf in one time and expect to be good. It's going to take a lot of practice. And so the spiritual life's no different. I think a lot of times people expect, they're going to become saints overnight, and that's not the case. It's just this gradual procession, I think is a good word, to sainthood. None of the saints were saints immediately. It took their life to get there, and it's going to be no different for us. So I think, the season of Lent also teaches us to be patient with ourselves, because we're not perfect. We're going to fall. We're going to forget Fridays. There's always people in the church every year that are like, oh, I ate a sausage biscuit for breakfast. I totally forgot it was Friday during Lent, because every single day they go to McDonald's or they go to Wendy's or something like that, and they get their sausage biscuit, or their bacon biscuit or whatever, and they just get in that routine and they forget. Well, I mean, God's not going to strike them down, obviously, for that. Perfectly, we screw up, and so sometimes Lent teaches us to be patient with ourselves too, Ultimately, as I said before, it teaches us to put 100% self-reliance on God. And that's what I've learned more than anything in my priesthood, is just that. Like, if I try to depend on myself, it's always terrible. It never works very good. It's not as good as the way God's going to do it. I can't see all the different angles He's coming at or what's going to happen in the future. He's got it all figured out, and if I would just let God be God, it's always better. And so it's easy to say it, but until you've lived it and experienced it, it's hard to really live it, I think. So try to give yourself those chances. That's the thing. Just test it out. Give your will over to God and see how it works for you. I guarantee it'll work out pretty good.
I know, I keep thinking about when I did my pastor year and lived with Father Jerry Riney, and we both decided to give up alcohol for Lent. And that was like our thing. Every night we'd have a glass of wine. We'd talk about our day and just ministry experiences and everything. And those first 2 weeks, we were both just sitting there in the kitchen. We're like, so what do we do? But the purpose of it really helped we kind of challenge ourselves to say, no, we're not being intentional with our time here and speaking. And so we turned it into, we'd walk around town or whatever, but making sure that you were actually being intentional. So I think if you're asking yourself, what I gave up, what I do for Lent, is it something that's going to be continual, that it's going to give something good to your life that's going to help you to grow in grace, help you to become a saint? Or is it something that when Lent's over, it's going to be like blip, nothing ever happened, it was just 40 days of whatever? So is giving up cookies and sweets and things, is that gonna help me to say no when I have a temptation or something later? Probably, especially if you can do it. I mean, you make great cookies. So.
Well, I had a friend that would give up pizza every year for Lent, but then the Sunday, Easter Sunday, that was his dinner. He'd eat pizza, and he pretty much ate pizza after that every year. He loved pizza, It was a challenge to do that, but I mean, it didn't change his life. Like, he was eating pizza, right, after that. So I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, last year here at St. Joe, I challenged the parish to pray a rosary every day for vocations and for the sick of the parish, And I did that obviously for that reason, but also that people could get back in the routine of praying the rosary. And I had several people say, I hadn't prayed the rosary in a long time, and I got back into the habit of doing that, or I didn't know what the rosary really was or how to pray it. Now I know. So, I had other motivations behind doing that. So I think that's the key is, what am I doing? And what is my motivation behind it? Is it about me? Because that's one of my pet peeves. Love is to will the good of the other. So is what we're doing for Lent geared towards love, or is it geared towards self-love, which is always the opposite of love? Is it just, people give up chocolate and dessert because they want to lose weight? Well, that's great for you, but how's that serving the community? How's that serving your family? How's it serving you for eternity? It could be, but there are probably some other alternatives that might do something better. But again, the church, understanding that we need help, says, okay, we're going to help you. So here's 3 things you can focus on: almsgiving, fasting, and prayer. So, I'll share what I'm doing. I had an 8th grade kid a couple weeks ago. It was funny. He said, Father, what are you going to give up for Lent? And I was like, I haven't thought about it. And it was like, 10 days before Ash Wednesday. But I thought about it ever since, so it must have been divine inspiration from some point of view. And, something that always has touched my heart is the Litany of Humility. It's one of my sort of favorite litanies, sort of prayers. So I'm going to focus on that just because, again, our egos, we start to think, I've got all this figured out and I'm doing so many great things and it's all about me, And part of it was being inspired. You don't want to give all these plugs, but Amazon Prime has this series called The House of David. And I was watching that, and I was very interested in the character of King Saul, because his sin was, again, he put faith in himself, and that he was the reason that Israel was so successful and why they were winning wars, and it was all about me. And of course, that's when God says, okay, wait a minute, it's not all about you. This is not you, this is me. And he rejects him as king, and then of course picks King David. So, again, we all have that mentality, and it's like, okay, you got to remind yourself, this is not about me. I'm not the one doing this. This is all God. So, again, that's why I've said this year I'm going to focus on that prayer of humility. Understanding, again, I didn't say I'm going to pray this every single day. I said I'm going to pray this as often as I can during the season of Lent. Again, not putting all that pressure. If I miss a day, then, I'm a terrible priest and, whatever. So, yeah. Just praying, like I said, the Litany of Humility, that's not hard to do. It just takes some time and do it. But actually living it every single day, that's a challenge. Mm-hmm. And incorporating that into my life is going to be a challenge. But it's something that I've never really done. I'll read it maybe once every 6 months. So maybe I won't do it every day or every other day, but maybe I'll do it once a week or something. And just, again, to remind me that, this is all about God and what God's plans are, not my plans. And so... the actual task at hand is not going to be that difficult, but living it will be, for me personally, be a little bit of a challenge, obviously. So I would assume it'd be somewhat similar for most people, though.
Both. The closer we get to God, the more Satan comes knocking. We always kind of say so. I think as Lent goes on, especially, we're always gung ho and we're excited, and everybody comes, they pack the church, everybody gets their ashes. And we get going for that first week. We get to the first Friday and then second Friday, and then we kind of forget some of our things. And so it's always those moments of Satan's kind of pulling us back and saying, no, don't do this. And we have to have that kind of consent of our will almost, like each day, like you were saying, no, we have to pick up that cross. We have to remind ourselves, it's Lent, I'm doing this is a Friday, I can't eat meat, I gave this up, I'm doing this prayer, whatever it is, kind of start each day and remind ourselves constantly.